Every day we are looking for the lowest possible price to upgrade our bike gears. Today I'm gonna review the Spider Power Meter S10 by Coospo. Less than $150, I'm going to test it with 165mm crank on my Shimano 105 Canyon Air-Road. Let's see if it's good enough to get all your data for this power meter. First impression matters, so let's open the box. Beautiful box, you can see it very well packed, and in the box you can get the S10 unit itself, charging cable, and we have the manual. You also have the crank arms. I picked the 165mm. I usually run on 160, so less change for me. And then you can put it straight on your existing crankset, 110 BCD. I'm gonna add it on my Shimano 105. You can see the crank arm here, they're quite nice, looking good, actually really good design. In the hands it feels solid. It's made of carbon fiber, weighs just over 100 grams, so barely noticeable once it's installed. Build quality looks tighter than I expected for the price. I know already the question they are asking, is affordable actually fragile? Well, I'm gonna test that one as well. So for example, already starting from the mounting is where a lot of cheaper gear fall apart, literally. This spider unit replaces the spider of the Shimano, for example in my case, on your crankset, so depending on your setup you might need a shop to do the swap, or you can do it yourself if you're comfortable with crank tools. You need a few extras because this is slightly different from the Shimano spindle, but if you have a classic tools for the crank, there should not be a problem. On my Shimano 105, as you can see, the fitment was clean, no rubbing against the frame, no wheel spacing issues. We have also the spacers included in the box. Now it's time to calibration, so I highly recommend the CoospoTools app, and once downloaded you can pair your S10. So now I connected it, and there's quite a few options here. We can start with a firmware update, really important every time. Make sure you update your firmware. Now I'm on 1.8, so now I am updating, and it's pretty quick as well, so really good. Make sure you wait until complete without going out from Bluetooth or without restarting the phone. And an upgraded power meter is really important. Once the update is completed, we can check all the rest. And now it's time for the real calibration. We have different versions here, so I'm gonna click on calibration in this case, and we keep our pedal down, like you can see my pedal is down here, until the calibration is successful. The best part for me though is the power calibration. If you do test and if it's not measured correctly, or if it's a discrepancy of ±1 or ±2, up to 10% you can correct your power calibration. This is fine tuning your power meter. This is really important. Not all power meters have this. So if you see it's a plus or a minus, you can calibrate it manually yourself, fine tuning your power meter. Pretty interesting also the transport mode. You can enable the transport mode when, for example, you are traveling or you are flying, so your power meter doesn't get paired and you don't lose the original calibration. So make sure you download the CoospoTools app. And now let's see how you can do it with the power unit. Pairing was the easy part. It runs both ANT and Bluetooth, so you connect it to my head unit in seconds. I paired it with my Coospo CS600, which I review before. You can see here on the top, you can click if you want to see that review as well. I rode the power meter as usual around Richmond Park and around southwest London, a few hard sprints, a few short climbs, tempo sessions, Z2. The goal was simple: push it into real condition and see if the data held up. During sprints, the reading updated fast, no lag, no weird spikes. On the climb, it tracks smoothly through cadence changes, which matters because they're exactly where the cheaper meters tend to get a bit more confused or stop and start again. Coospo specs say that this is IPX7 for water resistance, and battery life is rated at 300 hours, the classic common amount of hours, even if you spend much more money than this, which in real terms means I charge it once in 3 weeks for a regular riding basically. So far on feels alone, it looked really good, and also in the head unit I did have major issues, but what matters, as we all know, are the numbers, the marginal gains. So let's go and check them. I did a few tests, and this is probably the best test at the end when I did the zero calibration for both, and these are actually the final result, I would say. Two power meters running simultaneously, Coospo S10 in dark blue, and then the reference magazine is in the one in red. First thing that jumps out is how closely these two lines follow each other. Average power across the full ride 154, and from the Coospo and 160 is a 3.5% gap. Here we're going to check on the normalized power. It's 181 versus 186, so it's about 3%. A normalized power tells the same story. This is pretty much the 3% difference. We need to notice the Coospo is plus or minus 1% and the other one is plus or minus 1.5% in real condition. So here's the important context. Both meters have their own tolerance, their own measurement position in the drivetrain. Comparing to real world devices on the same bike isn't the same as 1 meter as again lamp standard. So a 3% spread between two consumer meters, that's actually not unusual at all. Different gaps between 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, 15 seconds. So we start from a bottom of 2.6 and we go open up the gap on 12% if you're calculating the 5 seconds. The gap isn't flat, it changes depending on how hard and how short the effort is. What does it mean for you? For threshold work, tempo endurance, structure intervals around your FTP, the numbers are consistent enough to train on. The Coospo is doing that job really well. If we look at the trace again, the shape is almost identical. Every spike, every recovery, every effort lands at the same moment on both files, so the Coospo is reading the structure of your ride correctly. It's pretty reliable. So let's talk about the elephant in the room now. Are those Chinese brands able to compete with the top brand that costs 4 times more this price range? I would say yes. I would say the precision is not for the World Tour. Probably a World Tour rider, probably Tadej Pogacar wouldn't use one of those, but for the riders, they are starting to get into racing, into more fast activity, chain gangs, etc. And if you don't have a power meter, or if you're looking at the budget, if you're looking at your wallet, this is exactly what you need. This is exactly what Coospo S10 is for you to start to get into those power numbers and improve your work power, your FTP, or also your peak sprint. So here is where it lands. If you are tired of looking at approximative data from Strava or potential watts that you have, RP levels, RPE numbers, then it's about time to get a power meter. And if you're looking for affordability, but something actually still solid and really good for the power numbers, well, I wouldn't hesitate to go the Coospo S10 in this case, for you to start enjoying and looking to improve those numbers. And how can you improve those numbers? Obviously with training, nutrition, but also with a power meter that actually give you the right range for you to see where you can improve. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like a video, subscribe the channel. If you want to know more about the Coospo S10, the link is in the description below. I wait you here next week for more performance video. And until then, ride on. Ciao!